Hey, I'm Butterfly.
Hey, I'm Firefly.
Have you ever wondered if we aren't being told the truth about everything?
What have we been lied to about? Join us as we have conversations and ask questions about everything. We invite you to keep an open mind and consider the unfathomable.
Let's break the chains that enslave our minds. Come on, let's go down the rabbit hole.
What's up, Butterfly?
Hey, Firefly, what's going on?
I'm so glad to see you again.
I'm glad to see you.
We have another rabbit hole.
You know what? I don't think we can ever run out of rabbit
No,
holes.
all we gotta do is look, and we also find that there's always kind of connections to other rabbit holes once you start going down.
Totally.
It's kind of like going under Paris. Like, you ever heard about underneath Paris?
Yeah.
It's like catacombs.
Yeah.
Our rabbit holes are kind of like catacombs.
They are.
So today I was thinking about, you know how those protesters on college campuses are really bad.
Oh, yeah.
The protesters, not now, don't get me wrong. There's some of them that they like,
Right.
but the ones that are really bad are the ones that are protesting what's going on in that country from 1948.
Oh, right. They're protesting the you-know-who's.
The you know who's and like what's going on in Gaza, right?
Uh-huh.
So
So they're protesting that stuff.
they're protesting,
Yeah.
but they're really bad.
They're really bad.
Like, Trump has gotten so mad that he says, you go to jail for life if you say anything bad about that country from 1948.
I know.
So obviously they're really bad.
And I think, like, I heard that some of those kids were getting kicked out of colleges and stuff
Yeah.
for protesting. I didn't know that that was, like, illegal to
Well,
protest.
like, you heard about that one where they were like saying, F the you know who's on college campus, and
Yeah.
the teacher was just like kind of showing her solidarity and got fired.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They were
So-
firing people and, like, kicking them out of school.
So it's pretty clear that the you know who's control our country. I mean, can we agree on that?
Sure.
I mean,
It appears that way.
at least it's a hypothesis. They control our
Yeah.
country.
There's
They
a
for sure control academia.
there's a lot of evidence to support that.
Yeah.
claim.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm a bad person, but I'm kind of leaning towards they control everything. And then the other thing they really control. Well, we talked about, like, even if you go out to an island, they micromanage everything.
Right.
You know, so they micromanage everything on a college campus really, really close.
Really micromanage. You have to really, like, do what you're told when you're told to do it.
You drink the Kool-Aid or you fail your class.
Yeah, you can't. I've heard that, like, you can't even disagree with, like, if you're writing a paper and you take a different stance, like for your thesis, and then the one that they want you to take, if you disagree with, like, the narrative, you, like, won't pass.
That's right.
Yeah.
They micromanage you in school. I got micromanaged all the way back in the turn of the century. Now they've only, like,
This is how they indoctrinate.
that's how they do it.
Mhm.
You get micromanaged, and then you say 2 + 2 = 5, or you
Yeah.
get tortured to death. So, what if, now I'm a bad person. We've talked about what a bad person I am.
We know that. We
But-
know that.
What if those protesters on those college campuses that are protesting what's going on in that country from 1948 in Gaza are paid for by that country from 1948, and they're controlled opposition that is doing the bidding of them? Now, hear me out. I'm a bad person.
Okay, I see
Hear
where
me
you're.
out.
I see where you're going.
So they're paying these people like crisis actors to go and do these protests,
Mhm.
but
And be
actually,
bad.
yeah, and be bad and really act bad and, like, probably burn stuff down and kind of act like the Summer of Love a little bit.
Is that what they're doing?
They kind of do.
Wow.
They're kind of Summer of Lovey,
Wow.
which now I'm starting to think those were paid crisis actors too back in
Yeah.
the Summer of Love.
And that doesn't really fit along with the kind of like the traits of the people that would normally protest this kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't.
Yeah.
Those kind of people aren't usually the kind of people that are, like, burning stuff down. It's
Well,
usually the other side that's
Like,
burning.
what they're
violence.
supposedly protesting is, like, the humanitarian, like, crisis there. You're killing kids.
Uh-huh.
So if you're really mad about kids getting killed, which you should be, you're probably not going to go burn stuff down and destroy stuff. You're probably going to be like, I'm mad at that because I'm a loving person
Right.
and I don't like to destroy things. I don't like to hurt people.
Yeah.
But it's not like that. They're like, I like to hurt people and destroy stuff, but I'm mad about what you're doing there. So
That's
I'm
weird.
thinking it sounds unorganic, and my spider senses are saying they're funding that, And then what they're going to do is, have you noticed like a lot of people are kind of talking about that country from 1948? A lot of people are kind of talking about
Yeah.
it. So I don't think they like that. I think they want to corral people back into shut up. So the way that they want to corral people back into shut up is they want to tarnish those people who say bad stuff about that country from
Right.
1948.
Right.
And what's a good way to do that is you lump them in with these bad people.
Oh my gosh. Haven't we seen this before? This is sort of a
We
pattern.
did this. I think that's why you kind of look at like how they play chess and you go, oh, I know
I know that move.
they're going to move that pawn
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So when did they do that? They did that kind of with the whole idea of a conspiracy right from the get-go because they had Q. Remember, Q was like, everybody, dude, you're so stupid.
Yeah.
Everybody's already been arrested.
Yeah. Just
White Hats
sit back, relax, and just don't do anything.
Trust the plan. Trump is the man. Okay. That was controlled opposition. That was basically them corralling their opposition so that they can tarnish you, right? So when you come out and you say, hey, there is a conspiracy going on, they say, you're one of those stupid people thinks everybody's been arrested. So that's kind of how they do it. They have these outlandish paid for protests, quote unquote, that act really bad, do stupid stuff, and then they like tarnish everybody who is against that country from 1948 now with them.
Right.
And they were controlling it. And the reason, like, so now we're starting to kind of see their game plan. Did they kind of do that? I'm a bad person. But did they kind of do that on October 7th, 2023?
I think that's pretty obvious.
I think so.
You mean
you couldn't have to drink Kool-Aid to not think so.
I don't really understand how people actually believe that these guys were able to just like come in on hang gliders and sort of like take over that whole thing.
And like rape takes time.
They raped a bunch of people.
Just stop and rape.
Yeah.
Before I get back on my hang glider.
And like nothing was happening during that whole raping and everything. And then wasn't that under that Iron Dome?
Well, yeah.
It's not supposed to be like super safe.
Well, from my understanding, Mossad is the gnarliest intelligence agency on earth because
like super secure.
Well, yeah. Well, like, so I mean, if I'm right, which I probably am, but then I'm a bad person for pointing this out. Mossad not only has all of our technology because the general hypothesis I'm working on is that country from 1948 took over this country in 1963. So if they've taken over this country in 1963, they have all of our technology. And they probably have other technology that we don't even know.
They probably have some that they don't tell us about.
And a lot of that probably has to do with surveillance because they really like to micromanage people's movements. Because like Larry Fink from BlackRock,
he wants to drive our behavior.
And he's one of those guys from 1948, that country from 1948. So I think he's kind of like indicative of what they want to do. They're like, we're going to micromanage everything.
Yeah.
So that being said, are they going to allow like these third world dudes in hang gliders to just like cruise in, rape, and then grab a bunch of people and go back?
Without being stopped.
So what maybe happen, if that sounds ridiculous to you, and you're not just going to go drink Kool-Aid and go, well, it's what happened.
That's what the news said.
Lee Harvey Oswald, he had a bullet with like English and it hit Connolly 4 times.
From different directions.
From 4 different directions. What? Just shut up. So if you don't want to accept that, then you have to start saying, well, wait a second. What maybe did happen? Did that country from 1948 fund Hamas? I think it came out in the wash, but they did. They fund Hamas. So Hamas is like the baddie, right? They've been the baddie since I was a little kid, but they've been funding them all along. So why would they fund their own enemy? It's to justify what they do.
My gosh.
Yeah. So then they allow this big attack. And then they cry that they're just victims so bad.
Well, it seems like I've noticed that that's like a theme, an ongoing theme with the you-know-whos. They're victims. They're always victims.
The Holocaust. We still owe them a big apology for the Holocaust that might have not happened.
They like to be victims.
They do.
I don't really understand that mentality.
Well,
like,
You know
I
what it
don't
is?
I don't want to be a victim.
We're victims, so don't ever say anything bad about us and let us do anything we want.
Right.
I think that's kind of that.
We're the chosen
We're the chosen ones and we're victims.
ones.
So just we do what we want and you don't ever say anything about that. But then the other thing too that's kind of weird is they kind of like attack themselves and then go, but this is what we're gonna do because of that. So now they're like, we're just gonna like exterminate all the people that live in Gaza. And they kind of are. And it's like kids and like a lot of people dying.
But Trump's going to build a new fancy hotel. So it's going to be really nice.
And do you notice like there's new Kool-Aid being served to the Trump camp? And the
Hmm.
new Kool-Aid is Trump is divorcing with Netanyahu. That's the new Kool-Aid.
I know. I'm like,
And I'm thinking, okay, so what's going on now? I think is they're
does
gonna
that mean his construction is going to stop? His
no,
hotel construction will stop.
no, no, that's all narrative. What's gonna happen is Netanyahu, I think, is about to get voted off Pleasure Island.
Ooh,
I think
that's a big move.
yeah, I think he's been voted off Pleasure Island because now all the bad behavior is starting to kind of come out,
And too many people are talking about it.
so they'll just blame him and say, "Well, he's gone away now, so everything's all good now."
Yeah, they'll
But
put him under the bus.
actually, there'll just be some other figurehead that still controls Trump,
Or it'll be Trump.
or it'll be Trump,
And he'll just like, his headquarters will be Gaza, Mar-a-Lago.
which I think is
Mar-a-Lago,
what
Gaza.
they're. I think you just hit the nail on the head. That's what that David Goldstein guy said. He
Mhm.
said that when Trump signed on in 2014 with the you know who's, they came and have you ever noticed the you know who's like to do big elaborate movies and
Mhm.
fake narratives to try to drive behavior? And I think Trump's whole political career was a big narrative. I think it was a big script. I don't think that we have presidents. I don't think we have Congress people. I don't think we are governed. Um we're being taxed without representation now.
Right.
I think that's what's going on.
Wow.
So there's a TV show, and Trump was playing the part, and Trump's part all along was to usher in the one world government seated in that country from 1948 with him as the king of the world,
Well, I heard that they've got like huge like billboards and stuff with his face on it over there. Like they love him.
which means he's probably their boy.
Yeah.
They wouldn't love him if he wasn't their boy. I'm thinking he doesn't wear the pants around here.
Hmm.
I don't think he wears the pants. I think he's a puppet.
Uh-huh.
That's what I'm starting to think.
So who do you think wears the pants?
Satan.
Right.
Satan first.
Yeah.
Satan's like, I make all the decisions. But
And
then, like, there's like
he's
people,
got some minions.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Larry Fink
Yeah.
is like,
Maybe he's wearing the pants
he wears a lot of the
because he's
pants,
driving behavior.
but Larry Fink takes his direct orders from Satan,
Yeah.
but he is one of the, like, he's like the chief business officer. So I'm your boss, but Satan is my boss, but I'm your boss.
Yeah.
So he's kind of one of the bosses.
Uh-huh.
I feel like that's kind of the way, like, there's a boss, and the boss controls Earth. And the way the boss, have you ever worked in a company where they micromanage people?
Oh yeah.
And so there's the boss, and then everybody has to do all of these little micromanagement hoops.
Mhm.
I think that company is kind of a microcosm for what's going on here.
Mhm.
Like our Earth has become a company run by a micromanager,
Mhm.
like a full-on oppressive micromanaging CEO.
Well, they love to micromanage. I mean, we even talked about how they're micromanaging Mother Nature. So it's like,
Yeah,
they will micromanage
which is
everything to
interesting.
death.
Which is interesting. The micromanaging Mother Nature thing, I still think that might be. You need to go make it pretty because you guys are all going to die soon, and when we have the whole Earth, we want to look pretty. Think
Yeah,
that I'm sticking to it until I'm
yeah.
proven wrong.
I think that's a really good point. I think it could be true.
Because it almost seems like their blue pill is kind of like that's part of their programming.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
kind of like the guy who was like beating up the self checkout at Target with a hammer.
Yeah.
Like he was on a very specific blue pill that made him drive that behavior.
Yeah.
I really think they've really mastered this
Gosh.
mind control stuff.
Yeah, it's like everybody is being Sirhan, but
Yes.
in like specific ways
Yes.
because of the micromanagement.
Yes.
So the micromanagement is actually it's actually like micromanaging the mind control. They're
Yes.
micromanaging the mind control.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, like
they have to.
just think about like some of those happy pills, like those reuptake inhibitors.
Yeah,
Some of the side effects are you might hang
unaliving.
yourself with a scarf from a doorknob.
Yeah.
That's a very specific behavior. So if they
They've worked it down to that detail.
so if they have there's a good chance that they have like different blue pills that drive certain specific behaviors.
I think we can probably say that that's the case.
So then some people's behavior is to go, you go tend to plants.
Right.
But like these other people, it's like, you're going to go protest us on Columbia University.
Hmm.
And you're going to go bring really bad signs and kind of break windows and just kind of
Set
be,
some stuff on
you
fire.
set stuff on fire and just kind of be a scumbag.
Yeah.
Because what we want to do is you're going to be the straw man that we create for all anti-Semites.
Hmm.
I think that's kind of what's going on.
That's interesting. That's a really good point.
So, anyways, I just wanted to unpack that really quick. Do you think we have anything else we want to talk about on that one?
Well, I mean, I think that we sort of just barely brushed the surface of this whole topic, but
It's interesting how that rabbit hole kind of leads to a lot of other rabbit
it
holes.
does.
What I think it shows is a behavioral pattern of the cult,
Yeah.
and which is interesting to learn. So they like to do movies.
Hmm.
They like to do movies portrayed as news.
Hmm. And they a lot of the problems that that people think are like the problems, the horrible things that are happening, they're actually creating these problems
Yeah.
so that they can come in with their solutions to the problem.
Epiphany, epiphany, epiphany.
Oh my gosh.
It's been a while since I had one of those.
I know, it's been
What
days.
what if geoengineering is the way that they drive the Earth modification myth?
It is.
So they
It
do
totally is.
geoengineering to create. We do have like
Earth modification.
we have fucked up weather,
Yeah.
and it's like why? And it's like well, because we're manipulating it.
Well, yeah. So I think, didn't we talk about this before? I mean, I've seen this for a long time. I think this is how they do it so that it kind of makes it hard to red pill the people that are so indoctrinated into the earth modification story,
Yeah,
because it's hard to argue with them, because if you say, look at, earth modification is not a real thing, it's not really happening, they say, but look at these horrible storms that are happening, look at the
no,
fires.
that was caused by HARP.
Yeah.
And they go, what's
They
that?
go, you're crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but HARP is very real.
Yeah.
1964.
They just think you're a crazy conspiracy theorist.
HARP and dues. HARP
Right.
and dues.
Harp and dues. They don't know. A lot of people don't realize that's happening. Like, didn't you say you were having a conversation with somebody about the earth modification, and they said that there were all these like floods, or what was it that they called it?
No. It's yes. No, you've used the wrong term. As a matter of fact, some Indian guy's gonna get mad when I say this word right now. It's called atmospheric rivers.
Oh, atmospheric rivers.
Which
Yes.
totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
there's rivers in the atmosphere,
Yeah.
but these are atmospheric rivers.
But this is one of their like.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's one of
That's 200 million
their
year old animal.
defensive arguments.
That's like when you say atmospheric rivers, that's speaking the same language as 6 million-year-old direwolf.
Right. Or the animals from 200 million years ago.
You're
It's
drinking
all-
that same brand of
It's the
Kool-Aid.
same kind of Kool-Aid.
That same, but there
Yeah.
is, you bring up an interesting point. There's different brands of Kool-Aid
Mhm.
that drive like
Different
different behaviors.
Yeah.
Another thing that they do kind of like cause a problem and then the solution is real gnarly
Yeah.
is like when they go and like give like some dude Ebola in Uganda. And then they tell everybody,
They go, oopsie,
oh,
you have Ebola.
yeah. And then they go, oh, cool. Now we got some dude who got it and his eyes are bleeding and all of his like organs have become liquefied. Let's just like take pictures of him
Yeah.
and scare the crap out of people.
Because we had a 1-person outbreak.
Yeah.
that we
And
made.
then we'll scare the crap out of people and make them go take shots.
Yeah. They like to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'm starting to kind of see like maybe the game plan
Mm.
with the protesters on Columbia University. Have you ever noticed it's always at cult universities like
Oh, totally.
Princeton
Yeah.
and Columbia?
Mhm.
because that's where they have all their crisis actors like totally drinking the Kool-Aid.
They probably have like a special casting call at those places. Like they have like a little school newspaper that goes out and they they like audition them and they're like, they don't even audition them because they know they'll be perfect.
Did you ever see that one Alex Jones expose where he went to Yale
I don't
and
know.
he uncovered some old videotapes from like the 80s of like George W. Bush when he was at Yale.
Mm.
And they do these weird satanic cult like initiation ceremonies for the people there. Really bizarre stuff.
Oh, and you mean just to be a student there?
To be in like the like Skull and Bones. You're in Skull and Bones now.
Yeah.
And those guys become presidents.
Right.
Right? So it's all culty,
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
And so you know that all the stuff coming out of these universities is a narrative. It's
Mhm.
nothing's organic.
No.
So they're funding, my opinion, just like they're funding Hamas to attack themselves to justify what they're doing in Gaza. They're funding these protesters in these universities to say, shut up, stop talking about us. Stop talking about that country from
I think you're
1948.
right.
You dirty American. You shut up and you get micromanaged by us.
Totally.
I just don't want to do that.
No,
I'm not going to do that. So whatever. Let's see what
I
happens.
think that's a good point.
I think let's see what
I
happens.
think it's totally plausible.
That
Yeah,
person.
I know. But
Prove me wrong.
I
I
mean,
would love them to prove me.
they did do 9/11.
They did 9/11. They did JFK.
So
They
this
do JFK.
they did some big stuff.
They,
So putting together a little protest is like throwing together a little garden party for
well,
them.
let's
You know what
just
I
look
mean?
at let's look at like the last 100 and let's go back to 1905.
Okay.
What have the you know who's done since 1905? So they created the Tavistock Institute in 1905. That was pretty gnarly.
Hmm.
Tavistock Institute was basically like, we're going to study how to brainwash and mind control people. And they've been doing it for about 120
What
years.
could be the good reason for that?
We control you.
I mean, what yeah, what would be an argument to be like in
I don't
favor of
think they,
that?
well, that just goes to
You know
show
what
the
I mean?
level of power that they have. They didn't
Yeah,
even need to have a good mission statement.
yeah.
Their mission statement is stated it was, we need to brainwash the Americans into getting involved in World War One,
Hmm.
because that was part of their plan for the Bolshevik Revolution and, kind of taking power. So I think then so the you know who started the
Tavistock
Tavistock
Institute.
Institute, which was gnarly brainwashing mind control that grew into MK Ultra, and now they're really good at it. And they've got people like that lady on the island going, "Excuse me, that's invasive." So she's like full on MK Ultra.
Well, every like pretty much every university is indoctrinating people and mind controlling, which is really scary because
And that little girl that was doing the tour on the island, she was drunk on the Kool-Aid,
yeah,
totally drinking it.
and when you think about it, probably almost every doctor is totally drunk
Oh, yeah.
on the Kool-Aid, completely
So
inebriated.
that's another thing that they did. And I heard that Rockefeller is kind of affiliated with that country
Yeah,
from
he is.
1948.
Hmm.
So, okay. So they did the 1905. Then they did the Russian Revolution, which was not cool for them. Russia, it really sucked for Russia.
Hmm.
And then in 1913, they did the Federal Reserve, which was kind of weird. Like,
Hmm.
by the way, we're going to control the production of your money in America, and we're a private entity. We don't even have to answer any questions.
We don't even actually really have to have the money.
We don't have to have the money. We do fractious lending, and just don't worry about it. You're in debt, by the way. So yeah,
Rely.
so that was weird.
Hmm.
Then Kennedy, and
Yeah,
we've talked about how
that was weird.
well, what was really weird is I wasn't even really like suspecting them that much. I was thinking more like the mob.
Yeah,
But then like when these new quote unquote documents were released by Trump and everything was redacted
everything about that place was
as it
redacted.
pertains to that country, that was when I started going, oh, so
That,
they did that.
but yeah, because why would you have to redact all of that? What would be the reason for that?
Yeah, I thought that was the whole point of divulging, so that we finally knew 75 years later or whatever, how many years it's
And
been.
if you're covering up that specific stuff, like what's a good reason for that?
Yeah. Well, I think that's what we've gone before. We've gone beyond good reasons for stuff.
Hmm.
So my point is, if you look at the tail of the tape, there's a lot of evidence that suggests they've taken over. They're micromanaging the whole earth now, and they're doing control,
including Mother Nature.
including Mother Nature. Those are invasive. And those poor crows getting like this blue crap just like clipped on them. Just like, we need to keep tabs on you. It sounds like us.
Yeah, they're keeping tabs on us.
They want to keep tabs on you. They want to
Totally.
know where you're going and what you, because they're going to tell you, no, no, no.
Yeah, you can't go more than 10 minutes outside your 15-minute city limit.
Yeah. So then they do the other thing they do. We've talked about controlled opposition. I think these protests on these campuses are controlled opposition for the purposes of tarring.
Selling their idea and their narrative.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, also tarring anybody who does like what we're doing. We're being bad right now.
Right.
We're kind of being critical of that country from 1948, and
so
they're like, no.
we're going to be lumped into that same category of those like people that are burning stuff down.
Yeah.
Although when they were burning stuff down before, they thought it was okay. It was like the summer of love. I guess it's not. Like
That was because those are oppressed peoples. Those were them expressing themselves.
Oh, right.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
You have to understand, like the contradictions. The
There's
contradictions
always
only make
contradiction.
sense if you drink the Kool-Aid. You have to
Right.
have the Kool-Aid answer.
When you're not drinking the Kool-Aid, it's really hard to make sense of this stuff.
There's always like one little tidbit of
It's
data
very-
that they give you that's kind of like, this is how you answer that contradiction.
Yeah.
Like Elon was good, but now Elon's bad.
Mhm.
Why is that? Well,
Because he's bad.
he's bad. He aligned himself with Trump, but his cars are still good. So you kind of gotta like just guzzle the Kool-Aid and you gotta take their blue pills.
Just say yes.
That's what I think is the answer, because we're white pilled. What's the white pill? Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, and don't be afraid to call out things
Just
that you
say
don't
no.
like.
And don't shut up.
Don't. I don't want to be told what if something smells like. If I go to somebody's house and it smells like a dead cat in their backyard, and we're having a barbecue, I'm not just going to not say anything because I don't want to be rude. I'm going to say, dude, is there a dead cat in your backyard? Because I'm not hungry right now. It smells really bad. That's kind of how you got to look at like what this country from 1948 is doing. Like you got to be like, oh,
Well, I
wait
mean,
a second, do they control us?
it just seems weird that you can't call attention to. I mean, if there's something going wrong, like like if you saw somebody breaking into your neighbor's house and you like said something about it, like to the other neighbor, like call the cops. I mean, you would be doing the right thing, right? But it's almost like you can't call attention to it. They're saying like if you see
Unless
something,
the person breaking into the house was one of those people from
Yeah.
1948.
then you're not allowed to call attention.
Then it's
to
like,
it.
well, and then they would
Yeah.
have some blue pill reason. Well, he's actually just inspecting.
Yeah. He just broke the windows so he could go and inspect.
He's protecting them.
That's the thing that's so weird. Like you should be able to, call attention to like things that are not right.
Like, wait a second. Does APAC handle all of our Congress? That's something that I haven't heard a really good explanation for yet.
hmm
So, anyways,
I think that was an interesting discussion that I think we'll probably delve in deeper at another time.
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they control everything, it's probably going to come up again.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That was good.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.